time.
And that is all it's gonna be.
Toodles!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday. We've got a lot that we've got to get into today. I hope you guys are all buckled in, ready for another fun-filled show. Unfortunately, as you guys saw, circumstances beyond my control yesterday, I was unable to provide my Raw results and information. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to get into NXT. Just a situation beyond my control. Our apartment complex here was having their annual inspection. So didn't want to be on the air in the off chance that they came while I was on the air to do the inspection. You know how that goes. Everything was fine, though. But you don't want to hear me talk about that. You guys want to hear me discuss professional wrestling, WWE wrestling, Raw, and NXT. So let's get into it here, shall we? Our episode of Monday Night Raw began this week with Drew McIntyre already in the ring. He says he's the same guy that he's always been, the same guy that he was when he debuted at the age of 22. He's never, ever changed. The fans have just turned on him. He says that he did something that Jey Uso never has done before. When he attacked him last week, he came at him from the front so he could see him, whereas Jey Uso has attacked Drew in the past from behind. He talks about everything that he's missed with his family the past 16 years being stateside, and the fact that Clash at the Castle against Roman Reigns was supposed to be his opportunity to pay it off and make it all worth it in front of his family and his hometown crowd. And Jey Uso and the Bloodline took that away from him. He says that he hasn't joined Judgment Day. However, he has joined their team for War Games, which will be this Saturday. And of course, you'll see us cover that here across the multiverse of media. Jey Uso then comes out, and the two start to jaw-jack back and forth. Judgment Day comes out, and they all jump on the ring apron behind Drew McIntyre. All five of them: Dom, JD, Rhea, Priest, and Balor. So, Sammy, Seth, and Cody all come out to kind of join with Jey there. And even the odds up just a little bit. Still uneven because it's 3 on 5, 6 if you count Rhea. But, you know, it makes it a little bit more even. They start to brawl. They look like they're about to brawl, but Adam Pearce comes out and stops it. And says that the babyface squad needs one more person for War Games. And both teams need to decide who's going to fight in the advantage match later on in the evening. They've got 1 hour to choose, or Pearce will make the decision himself. And the babyfaces have to let Pearce know who their fifth is going to be by the end of the night. We then see Judgment Day backstage after our commercial break, and Priest says that Drew is good business, but as the leader of the War Games squad for Judgment Day, it should have been discussed with him. He says that he should be in the advantage match, but Rhea says they'll wait for Drew to get there and they'll discuss it as a team. So again, you know, Priest trying to assert his dominance as the leader of the War Games squad, but Mommy showing that she wears the pants of the team. Excuse me. We then had Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez. And while the match wasn't great overall, I will say that there was some great storytelling within the match. Raquel started the match strong, but she got rammed into the ring post prior to the commercial break. And from that point on, Nia was just in full control of the match. Raquel tried a couple times to mount some offense, but every time she tried to get Nia on her shoulders, she would collapse due to the damage that Nia inflicted, and Nia hit the Annihilator for the win. We then had a Xia Li video package promo. And then we come back to the Judgment Day backstage, still waiting on Drew so they can figure out who's going to be in the match. Drew shows up and somehow ends up getting the match as a way to prove his worth to the rest of the Judgment Day. We then see Team Cody in their locker room, and Jey Uso really wants Drew, so Seth allows him to do it. They allowed Jey Uso to be the one in the advantage match. That way they can kind of finish what was started in the first segment. They then discuss the fifth man, and apparently SmackDown is not off limits. So Sammy and Seth both say that they've got some calls they can make to some people and see if they can enlist some old friends. And Cody says that he's got an old friend that he can call as well. We then get Becky Lynch versus Xia Li. And this was a tremendous match, outstanding action, a certified banger between these two women. However, I felt it was horribly timed in its booking. You see, if Becky wins, if Becky loses, then she loses momentum rolling into War Games. If Xia Li loses, she loses momentum that she's been building over the last couple months, and she's also got a title shot at Lyra Valkyria on NXT, which we'll talk about later. So who do you make lose this match? You know, whereas if this had been next week, post War Games, then it would have been a little bit better timed, I think. Becky wins, and then post-match Damage Control comes through the crowd, followed closely behind them by Team Bianca. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi Blackheart. A brawl ensues, and Adam Pearce hits the ring with security in order to break him up. Again, the match itself was phenomenal. I'm not trying to take anything away from the match. I just felt that this was a bad week to have Becky and Xia. You could have had Xia against any other babyface on Raw, had Xia win, and continued her momentum towards the NXT Women's title match that happened last night. Becky could have faced any other heel on the Raw brand and gotten the victory. But having them face off each other, one person loses momentum, and I just think that's bad call. We then get Ludwig Kaiser backstage. He sees Giovanni Vinci and gets some words said between the two Imperium members. You know, Vinci feels like Gunther is happy with him right now based off of his match last week and the way he handled things last week. Kaiser's kind of in bad terms with Gunther. And prior to last week, it was reversed. Vinci had kind of been on the outs and Kaiser was in the good graces. So it just interesting the way they're trying to go with them. I feel like they're going to end up turning one of them babyface, but I don't want them to break Imperium up. They're too good as a tandem, and WWE needs strong tag teams right now. We had a Zoe Stark video package, and then we had Johnny Gargano versus Ludwig Kaiser. And honestly, this was a so-so match to me. Like, I feel that it could have been so much better than what it was. Not that it was bad, but it just could have been better. Maybe coming right off of the Becky Xia match, it was bad placement because their match was so great that this match just kind of seemed dull in comparison. Back and forth action, but it just couldn't keep my interest. Gargano got the victory. We then had Adam Pearce backstage with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Tegan Nox and Natalya come in and they want a shot at the tag titles. Then Caden Carter and Katana Chance come in. They want a shot at the titles. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell come in. They want a shot at the titles. Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile come in. They want a shot at the titles. Adam Pearce is just overwhelmed. He's like, stop. What we'll do is we'll have a fatal four-way match. Winner becomes number one contender to Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. We then have Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark crash the Judgment Day clubhouse. Like Dom and Rhea walk into their area and they find Shayna and Zoe chilling. This was a fun little segment because it really kind of brought a little bit of the charisma in Zoe Stark out, and the same to Shayna for a lesser extent because Shayna's kind of playing the side piece here to Zoe and Zoe's push to the title. But there was just something about the humor of the segment that really resonated with me. We then had that fatal four-way tag team match, and again, it's Tegan Nox and Natalya versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae versus Katana Chance and Caden Carter versus Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile. And all 8 women looked really decent with, in my opinion, Caden Katana and Maxine Ivy being the 2 standouts in the match. However, Tegan Nox and Natalya got the victory. And I'm kind of torn about this because on the one hand, I love me some Natalya. Y'all should know this by now. I love Natalya so much that I named my daughter Natalie. Okay? But I don't feel like they should have been the ones to win. Watching the action in the match, I think it should have gone to Caden Carter and Katana Chance or Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile and get a little bit of new blood in there challenging for the titles. I think this was a bad call. What do you guys think? Let me know. Keen Mike in the house. He says Zoe's been getting better. She's entertained me ever since the 5-way match. Agree. Says I don't think Natty wins the belts, but I'd be happy. I'd be happy too, but Natty deserves to be a main event star, and they just aren't doing it with her. Emmanuel, I do see that you're in the chat as well. Don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm just going to save that until we get to the NXT Women's Championship matches because I feel like those pertain more to that. We then had Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci backstage. And again, Gunther says that he's disappointed in Kaiser, but proud in Giovanni. So a little bit more gasoline on the already burning fire between Kaiser and Vinci. We then basically see the entire men's tag division backstage. And much like the women just got, they want a shot at the titles. Adam Pearce declares that there will be tag team turmoil next week on Raw. And Nick Aldis then shows up and they leave, Pearce and Aldis leave to have a little bit of a chat. We then get a Miz Gunther promo in ring, and Miz talks about his heroes that held the Intercontinental Championship. Guys like Randy Savage, Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Bret, the Hitman Hart. And he talks about the lack of respect that Gunther shows. And Gunther says that he has respect for all of those who are worthy. But Miz is a joke that was bullied for liking wrestling. And on Saturday, he's going to bully him some more. Yeah, that's a fair shout, Emmanuel. It makes you think that the Mean Street Profits, I like what you did there, won't win the tag titles with that segment. I mean, even if they do, it still gives a number one contender because whoever wins the titles in that title match already knows that they're going to have new contenders coming up. We then get Jey Uso and Seth Rollins backstage, and Seth kind of reminds Jey of how important the advantage is for War Games. We then get a video of Ivar and Valhalla issuing a challenge to Bronson Reed. And then we get a match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Chad Gable. And this was a fun match, but it was predictable. As much as I love Gable, Shin has been on a roll lately. So you knew Nakamura was going to get the W here. You knew he was going to get the victory, but Gable did make a valiant effort, got some great offense onto Nakamura. Just wasn't going to be enough. We then went backstage with Seth, Cody, and Sammy. And Seth and Sammy said that they weren't able to come through with a partner, but Cody was successful. King Mike says that Street Profits aren't doing it for me. They don't seem like natural heels. Babyface still bleeds. See, I feel like the Street Profits can be great heels. I just think they need to run the right angle, and the shtick with Lashley just ain't working. As much as I don't want to see it, I think if Montez had Bianca as a heel with him, they'd be able to do some fantastic things. It would very much be akin to King Booker and Queen Charmel. I think that's essentially the way they would run, but it would just be a little bit more street than Booker and Charmel were. You know, Bianca and Tez, everybody knows they're a couple. Everybody knows they're married. Everybody knows how in love they are. They're going to have that reality show coming next year. But Bianca is such the female John Cena right now that you can't afford to turn her heel, or else you lose all of that momentum with her. Things like the Divas of Compton that you had at WrestleMania this year, you don't get that with a heel Bianca. And moments like that are just so priceless for the youth, and especially for young black girls. They need that positive role model that they can look up to. And I'm telling y'all, that's why WWE hasn't pulled the trigger on a Bianca heel turn. But if you had Bianca turn heel and join the Profits would click a little bit better as a heel because the three of them are already such tight friends that it would come off so seamless. We then had our main event match, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. It was a good main event, but I still feel the Becky Xia match was the match of the night. Drew got the win with the Future Shock DDT, but this wasn't even about the match. It was about the post-match shenanigans. After the match, Drew goes to give Jey Uso a beatdown while Rhea watches from ringside. Judgment Day hits the ring and they join the beatdown until Cody, Seth, and Sammy all hit the ring with chairs in hands as equalizers. So the four men are standing tall in the ring, while the Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre are on the outside of the ring. Cody gets on the microphone and he starts to tease the fifth man, someone that he has a legacy with, somebody that is an apex predator. The crowd starts chanting, and he's like, "You get it, you see it, you hear it, you hear the voices in your head." And it has been confirmed by WWE.com that yes, the fifth man on Team Babyface will be none other than Randy Orton. And I gotta admit, I'm a little bit concerned about this. Now, before everyone starts coming at me, because I know how happy everyone is that Randy's back, hear me out for a second. Orton just missed like 18 months of action because of how fucked up royally his back has been. All the years of taking those RKOs and landing on his back after delivering them. His back has just been shit. Doctors told Randy he should not come back. And not only is he coming back, his first match back is in a Gang Warfare War Games match. Not exactly an ideal situation to bring Randy Orton back in a War Games match for his first match back. I'm just saying. You should have saved his return for a Rumble Pop or something where you're not going to have, a steel cage surrounding two rings, 9 other people in the ring for him to mess around with and get beat down by. Like, War Games is not the best situation for Randy to come back in. King Mike says, I agree, JJ. I love Randy, but it's selfish for me to want this return, even though I really want him to return, not going to lie. Yeah, I love Randy too. I have been a Randy Orton fan since day one. When he came out and was throwing this up as his signal and doing the overdrive and had the Midwest kind of like AJ Styles combed down hair before he got injured, before the Randy News Network, before Evolution, before the Legend Killer, I was an Orton fan. So I've been like huge on him for a long time. I just don't think this environment is the best case for him to come back. That's possible, Emmanuel. The most likely they will make it quick and save him for last, not do anything risky. But again, it's the years of delivering the RKO that have really damaged his back. So even if they save him to be the last one to enter War Games, you know they're going to have him come in and RKO everybody in the ring. And then possibly even deliver an RKO to Jey Uso, because the last time he was in WWE, the last match he had, the Usos defeated Team RK Bro for the tag titles. And just have him be on a row, RKO to McDonough, RKO to McIntyre, RKO to Dom, RKO to Priest, RKO to Balor, RKO to Jey Uso. Whoops, he's on my team. Was it an accident or wasn't it? You get him in just such a role, hitting those RKOs, boom, boom, boom. You could very easily write the story for him to accidentally RKO Jey Uso, but is it really an accident? King Mike with a $2 super chat says RKO Rhea. That would be dope, but I don't think she's going to be inside the cage. That would be dope, though. I definitely think we will lead to that. That might be the next Raw, the Raw after Survivor Series. But I don't think she's going to be in the cage. Emmanuel says could bring out a new finisher. Who knows? True. I mean, he could go back to the overdrive. You know, could bring something new. We'll just have to wait and see. You know, I know he was spotted at the Performance Center about a month or so ago. So he could be working on something there. He could have just been getting the rain rust off. I see you keep putting that. I'm not sure what that's. Oh, is that a snake? Is that supposed to be a snake, King Mike? I can't really tell what the emoji is. I'm assuming that's supposed to be a snake for the Viper. But yeah, all in all, I think Raw was a solid show. I feel like that women's match, although again very poorly timed in booking of it, was the match of the night. Okay, yeah, it is supposed to be a snake. What did you guys think of Raw? Let me know. I'm going to run a very quick commercial break like I usually do when I do more than one show review. Going to be gone for just about 40 seconds. I'll be right back to discuss NXT. Don't go anywhere.
3, 2, 1. Here we go again. Right now, let's go. Me and you, toe to toe. We can rock, we can roll. Here we go again. Right now, let's go. Me and you, toe to toe. We can rock, we can roll. You see,
That's right. Those are all the upcoming watch-alongs that'll be airing across the multiverse of media. We will be live this evening with our Thanksgiving Eve AEW Dynamite watch-along. No real reason why we're doing this one except for the fact that it's Thanksgiving Eve. It's a tradition for AEW, so we thought we'd add it to our watch-along schedule. Kind of check things out. I know they're supposed to be beginning the Continental Classic tournament this evening. So it'll be cool to kind of get to call the first match in that series. And then, of course, we'll be calling World's End at the end of the year. So we'll be able to call the finals for that series as well. Get the first match and the last match in the tournament in there. And then, of course, after that, Thanksgiving. And then we'll be back on Saturday with our coverage of Survivor Series. But we'll get into that a little bit more at the end of the show when we do all the standard plugs. So we then go into NXT, and we kick the show off with Noam Dar versus Chad Gable for the Heritage Cup Championship. And I gotta say, y'all know how I feel about Noam Dar. So I just couldn't get into this match, if we're being honest. And when I saw this was starting the show, I was like, man, this is going to be a long night for me. And it was. If I'm being 100% with y'all, I fell asleep for a portion of NXT last night. So I went back this morning before I went to do the review, and I rewatched NXT and I took all my notes. Now, I won't go as far as to say that it was a bore. I'm just not a Noam Dar fan. You know, and King Mike says the cup got boring to him a while ago. That's fair because Noam Dar keeps holding on to this cup, and we don't see it move. And I think that there's so many other great champions that we could have passed this on to already and maybe just reinvigorated the cup. Slightly off topic, Emmanuel says, as a joke, he could have donated more money for Disney karaoke. So many classic songs that didn't get sung. I agree, but stay tuned because Disney karaoke will be back. So, for the Heritage Cup match, the first two rounds saw some pure dominance from Chad Gable. Technical wrestling at its best. Oro Mensa, though, landed a cheap shot that allowed Noam Dar to hit the Nova Rolla for the first 3 count and put him up 1-0. We then had some more fast-paced action through rounds 3 and 4, and Gable was able to hit the Chaos Theory to get a pinfall early in the 5th round, tying the match. As round 6 drew to its close, Gable has Dar locked deep into an ankle lock. Time expired just before Dar tapped, and the match ends in a draw. And in the event of a tie, the champion keeps the cup. So your winner and still Heritage Cup champion, Noam Dar. Now, see, here's where I would argue you, Emmanuel, that the match was boring. I thought it was great wrestling from a technical standpoint from both men. I'm just not a Dar fan. If this had been the first match I had ever seen Noam Dar in, I might be a Dar fan. But I've seen him for the past, 6, 8 months, however long it's been since he came over with the cup. Just this whiny, smarmy, bullshit, chicken shit heel. And I don't get into that. I can support a good heel. But you've got to make me believe that you can do what you say you're going to do. And Noam Dar needs his metaphor cronies to always help him. Very much the way Roman needs the bloodline. The difference is you can believe that Roman doesn't need the bloodline. He just utilizes the bloodline like a mafia boss. Noam Dar, you don't believe that he can do this without the metaphor. And therein lies the difference. We then had JBL announce the Iron Survivor matches for the night, the qualification matches. And he says that for the men, it's going to be Carmelo Hayes versus Josh Briggs. This was an interesting one for me because Briggs has primarily been a tag team wrestler. So to see him get the opportunity to step out of the tag division and get that singles shot, I really like that. And I liked JBL's logic behind it because you figure JBL came from the APA tag team alongside Farouk. And here he is. He stepped out of the tag team shadow of the APA, and shortly after the APA broke up, man, JPL was a champion. So he's trying to see if the same thing will happen for Briggs. Briggs, a country boy, JBL, a Texan. Get out of that tag team environment, see if he can become champion. For the women, it's going to be Blair Davenport versus Thea Hale. I had my issues with this from the Jump Street, but that's only because everybody knows how much I love me some Thea Hale. But it's good to see her get this opportunity as well. We then had Tony D'Angelo and Stax walk into a restaurant where the rest of the D'Angelo family were there to surprise them with a championship dinner, a celebratory dinner. We then go backstage and we get Trick Mello game. And Trick says that now that he has qualified for the Iron Survivor, it's Mello's turn and the focus on Mello. And hey, you were there for me last week at ringside, so I want to be there for you like we always do. And Mello's like, I appreciate that. I need to do this on my own. I need to win this match. I need to get back to the title. I need. And Trick's like, wait a minute. Don't worry about deadline. Focus on tonight first. Tries to recenter Mello and his mind game. And Mello's like, you're right. We then had Lyra Valkyria on the way to the ring for her title match against Xia Li when Xia comes out of nowhere and attacks her, causing the match to not begin. Lyra gets taken to the trainer's room, and we'll see her backstage a couple times throughout the rest of the evening. We then had Malik Blade and Edris Anofe versus Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. This was a fantastic tag team match. Fast paced, great double teamwork by Garza and Carrillo. Got the victory. For me, this was the most impressive match I've seen them give yet. They just were on point with some of their moves. There was this one spot they did, and forgive me for not remembering which one is which off the top, but one of them had one of the other guys draped along their back like they were going to do the gory special. And then the other one slingshotted over the ropes and kind of neck breakered them into the ring, then flipped over so that they bent their head and neck back while the other one bounced off the ropes and drop kicked the guy in the face. Just a tremendous sequence. I was like, whoa, shit, this is great. Again, best match I've seen from Garza and Carrillo so far. Hopefully, they'll get a shot at the tag titles very, very soon. We then see Lyra Valkyria backstage with Medical, kind of working on her, seeing if she's going to be able to go for the night. We then had Briggs, Jensen, and Fallon Henley backstage, and Fallon says that if she can't be an Iron Survivor, she wants Briggs to be able to qualify. Fallon and Jensen offer to be ringside with Briggs, but he declines because he feels that JBL picked him for a reason, so he wants to prove himself on his own. Very noble babyface thing to do, in my opinion. We then got Carmelo Hayes versus Josh Briggs, and Briggs really brought it to Melo. I was impressed. Again, I'm just used to seeing Briggs in tag team action. I think the only time I've seen Briggs in a one-on-one match was when him and Jensen had that little feud earlier this year because of Kiana James, and Briggs and Jensen fought each other. But this was a banner of a match. I was really impressed by Briggs' solo work. I do see promising things for him. Do I see him winning Iron Survivor? At this point, I'm going to say probably not. But I could definitely see him as a North American champion in the next year. Briggs was able to get the victory over Melo in a surprising win and heads to Deadline. And I agree with Emmanuel here. Match of the night, possibly, in my opinion. Definitely between this and that tag match that I just talked about with Blade and Anofe versus Garza and Carrillo. We then go backstage and we once again interview Lyra Valkyria, and she says that the match is still on. She is still going to be a fighting champion. She's going to defend her title. We then see a video package of Von Wagner having dinner at Mr. Stone's house. This was fun because Von is definitely being portrayed as this Neanderthal brute, if you will, at dinner. You know, he comes in and he talks about how his pasta's got all the sausage and no asparagus or any of that crap. And the kids are like, yeah, asparagus is garbage. And Mr. Stone's like, now, Vaughn, you know the kids need to eat their vegetables. And then one of the kids talks about, you know, older kids at school giving them a hard time. And Vaughn's like, who are they? Let me know. I'll go take care of them. And Mr. Stone's like, now, Vaughn, we try not to teach our kids about violence. And he's like, oh, right. Yeah, your dad's right. You shouldn't be fighting. And then Mr. Stone and his wife go to get dessert. And Vaughn's like, write down the names of the kid. I got you. Yeah. when they're eating their food, he's just like scarfing it down like a caveman. But it's a sweet segment because then the kids get caught staring at the scars on Vaughn's head, and Mr. Stone's like, "Now I told you guys not to stare." And Vaughn's just like, "It's okay. You know, your dad's kind of gotten me to the point where I can accept my scars and my differences." And it was a goofy but sweet segment. We then had Wes Lee cut a promo and basically say that he wants a rematch with Dom. Dom says that, you can't beat any of these people, so why should I give you a championship match? And Dom says, "You know what? You'll face 3 former North American champions next week, and if you can beat them, I'll give you a title shot at Deadline. But if you lose, then you can't get a match for the North American title again." And the 3 people that Wesley's going to take on, excuse me, are Cameron Grimes, Big Bronson Reed, and Johnny Wrestling himself, Johnny Gargano. So Wesley definitely has the odds stacked against him. We then get a video package about the Chase U scandal that's going on, and Andre Chase will break his silence next week. So make sure you tune in for that. We then see JC Jane and Thea Hale backstage, and Thea's nervous because despite what is going on with him, Mr. Chase has always been there for her. And he's not there, and neither is Duke. And JC's like, it's okay. I got you. Got your back. Just calm down. Gonna go out there. We're gonna do our thing. We then see Briggs coming backstage and celebrating his victory. And Tiffany Stratton walks up to him, and they have like a little banter, about winning and becoming champion and blah, blah, blah. And Tiffany leaves, and then in come Jensen and Fallon. And Fallon kind of gets a little bit jealous of Tiffany talking to Briggs there. Wesley could definitely be a future call-up, in my opinion. I'm not sure where he would fit on the main roster right now, but I definitely could see him as a future call-up. And I just started your other comment about Lyra so that I can hit all of them when we get to the main event, Emmanuel. So don't trip. I am not ignoring your Lyra Valkyria comments. We then got Thea Hale versus Blair Davenport, and we had new music for Thea. First, she comes out and the Chase U music is playing, and JC's like, "No, cut that, cut that." And then it turns into this more rock metal type of music for the leather-clad Thea Hale, and she's just kind of rocking out, headbanging as she walks down to the ring. It was so adorable. I love me some Thea Hale. And it was a hell of a match. Thea did her very best, but she was outmatched from Jump Street. Blair Davenport is a killer in the ring, and she dominated most of the match. Thea did get a little bit of offense in, but it just wasn't going to be enough to take down Blair Davenport. Blair got the victory, eliminating Thea from the Iron Survivor qualifying rounds. West to SmackDown would probably fit, but again, what would he do there? Would he join a stable? Would he join Lashley and the Profits? Would he go after the United States title? Where does he fit is the key there. That could be interesting. Wesley, Dragon Lee, Axiom, Carlito. Could be interesting. All cruiserweight champs. We then had Eddie Thorpe versus Charlie Dempsey, and I feel like this was a sleeper match because I love me some Charlie Dempsey. I'm a huge fan of Dempsey's father, William Regal. And I see so much of his daddy in him when he wrestles in the ring. I I just feel like this was a great match that probably not that many people are going to talk about. Sleeper match of the night, great action. Thorpe got a surprise victory. We thought that Dempsey was going to get the victory, but Thorpe came out of nowhere with this roll up counter, got the 3 count and the W. We then had the D'Angelo family finish up their meal at the restaurant, and when they leave, they get attacked by Garza and Carrillo. Again, looks like they're going to set up a tag team title match between Garza, Carrillo, and the D'Angelo family. I kind of don't want the D'Angelo family to lose since they got the belts back, but I kind of want to see Garza and Carrillo with the belts because they've been on a roll here lately. So I'm torn as far as what they're going to do here. We then had an Ariana Grace video package, which was funny and hokey kind of at the same time, but that's kind of what her princess gimmick is supposed to be. And then we had our main event of Xia Li versus Lyra Valkyria. This was a tremendous main event match. However, I feel like they did Xia dirty, much to the points that Emmanuel's been putting in the chats all night, and I've been kind of starring them here. You know, she lost to Becky, she lost to Lyra, but they made Xia look incredibly weak. And they also made Lyra look weak at the same time. You know, it was a bad night for Xia the last 2 days. Plus, it makes Indy and Candice look beneath the NXT Women's Champion, but I have my issues with that match when you're going to talk about it. The segments with Lyra made her weak. 1 strike and she couldn't compete until later, but I get it because Xia having a strike from her is going to KO you. But at the same time, with all of that, Xia came off of a loss to Becky, so you killed her momentum coming into tonight. She gained some of it back with that attack, but you knew she wasn't going to win the title, so that's why I say you should have tabled Xia versus Becky for next week, coming out of Survivor Series, coming out of this title match against Lyra. You should have had Xia fight somebody else last night on Raw. Because then Xia could have gotten that victory, and with the role that she was on, you would be more to believe that she was going to dethrone Lyra in her first match, especially after the attack earlier in the night. So when Lyra has that come from nowhere victory and is still able to defy the odds, you make Lyra look stronger and you don't weaken Xia because Xia is still on a roll. Then you go to Becky next week and it's like, okay, can she get her momentum back against the man? Especially if Team Babyface loses to Damage Control in War Games. Both people will be coming off of a loss. Who can get their momentum back? It just makes so much more sense to me that way. You know, they take such strides in bettering their women's division, and then they pull one of these moments, and it's like, okay, I guess. You know, I just bad timing for me. I still say NXT has the second best women's division stateside behind the Impact Knockouts division. And then AEW and WWE are kind of neck and neck because they've got all the talent in the world. They just horribly present it. It's just a matter of which one rights that ship there when it gets to it. But what did you guys think about last night's NXT? let me know. I'm going to run one more brief little commercial, show you guys all the upcoming special events that'll be coming to Open Mic Night in the coming months and into next year. And then we will come back. I'll do a few more brief little shills here. We'll get out of here, so stay tuned. There we go. That is everything that is coming up for the special event Open Mic Nights, beginning with Christmas karaoke, December 23rd, and then going all the way through Halloween karaoke next year. Of course, next December will be our third annual Christmas karaoke. So once we get through this one, that will be added to the video. And then, since it was such a success, yeah, you got to wait a little bit for it. We're building the suspense early. We are taking a page from WWE's playbook. But no, we're not booking a year in advance. We're letting you know a year and a half in advance. Disney Karaoke will return July 19th, 2025. The reason why we are doing it then is because July 17th, 2025, which will be that Thursday, is the 70th anniversary of the grand opening of Disneyland Park. We don't do open mic night on Thursdays, so that Saturday we are going to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Disneyland Park by bringing back Disney Karaoke. Let's see here. Emmanuel says 8.5 out of 10. King Mike says he's annoyed. He wanted Zaya to get a chance, but now I just don't see anything for her. Be patient. You've still got the Women's Rumble with the run she's been on, and you got Women's Money in the Bank next year, King Mike. I just think that as long as they don't give up on her, then we'll be good. But there's still so many women for her to run through. She was trying to get that shot at Becky, and she couldn't get that shot at her while she was champion. And I just feel like this week was a bad week for her. King Mike says 2025, but then as I was explaining, he's like, oh, like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, Disney Karaoke will be back July 19th, 2025. That is not a typo. That is the actual date. So once we make the new video, once we take out Christmas karaoke for this year and add it for next year, this graphic will be added to that as well. But that's 2025. Let's talk about the not so distant future. Coming up later today, beginning coverage, I believe we're going to start at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Again, we've got the Thanksgiving Eve Dynamite watch along, where we know we will be calling the first match of the Continental Classic. Who all is going to be in it and what the match will be, we still don't know. I believe in about 5 minutes, they're supposed to announce all the participants for the Continental Classic on the AEW socials. So tune into that, and we'll find out who all is going to be part of that tournament. Tomorrow, time and date to be determined. Well, time to be determined anyways. I will be hosting a Multiverse of Media Thanksgiving special across the entirety of the Multiverse of Media. Basically, what this is going to be is, as I have asked members of the Multiverse to submit videos to me of what they are thankful for. I've gotten videos from a bunch of people. I'm going to be sitting here at the booth, and think about old school MTV, where the VJ would talk, they'd set up a video, they'd throw to the video would play, then they'd come back, talk a little bit, set up another video, that video would play, so on and so forth. That's kind of what this is going to be. Is I'm going to introduce the person whose video I'm going to run. I'll run the video, come back, introduce the next video, it'll play, so on and so forth. We don't know exactly what time it's going to be yet, because it all depends when I get back from my Thanksgiving festivities tomorrow. You know, what I do know is that I am going to try to at least wait to the top of the following hour from when I get home. So theoretically speaking, if I get home at 6:20 Pacific, which would be 9:20 Eastern time, I'll go live at 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern time. If I get home at 8:40 Pacific time, I'll go live at 9 o'clock Pacific time, which is midnight Eastern time. But whatever time I get home, then the top of the following hour is when I will go live. That way I can have an opportunity to set the room up, make the studio ready for everything, and then give you guys an opportunity to get notified from YouTube. Hopefully you've got that bell turned on so that you're notified anytime we go live, and you'll be alerted that we're going to be going live. On Saturday, again, we'll have our Survivor Series coverage. Noah and I will be on the call for that one. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that's going to be coming up here across the multiverse. I usually try to have dinner early, King Mike, but it's not my house that's cooking. I'm going, me, my girlfriend, and her kids are going to my daughter's house. My daughter lives with her mom, her stepdad, their family. Me and my daughter's mom are on very good terms, so the two families are kind of converging for dinner, and I'm not sure what time they're targeting. I would like to think they're going to try to target dinner between 4 and 5, which should, in theory, get me back home. I'm going to guess no later than 7 Pacific, which would be 10 Eastern. That's my hope and my goal. And it is good news. You know, we've been really lucky in that we've been able to have a good after relationship, if you will. You know, we tried to pattern ourselves a little bit after my mom and dad, not trying to get too personal, but my mom and dad divorced when I was very young, and they've been able to maintain a very cordial, friendly relationship throughout the years, to the point that for a long time when my dad would come to Cali to visit, he'd stay at her house with her new husband and everything. So we've tried to pattern our relationship, post-relationship, on that. You know, it's all about our daughter. As long as we can focus on that and we can put our BS to the side, we can be good. So, like I said, as soon as I know what time it's going to be, I'll start posting on the social medias. I'll start tweeting. I'll start Instagramming. I'll try to have Jeff retweet and post. Bah. That way we can get the news out to y'all and we can get as many people watching as possible. Again, we're going to be going across the Simple Man brand, Jay Hebert brand, Greg Cherry brand, Casa D18 Studios, Jeff Meacham Network. NoDQ.com has given me permission to stream. We've even gotten a video from Virtue, hoping to get one from Aaron Rift as well. So the Thanksgiving special is going to be a big deal. Want to thank you guys for tuning in. Remind you guys to tune in tomorrow, as I will be doing my recap of AEW Dynamite Thanksgiving morning, as I do every weekday. So make sure you tune in to that tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, I will see you guys next time.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.